The emergency sirens wailed through the Congress station as view screens displayed the approaching darkness. Dr. Chen gripped the railing of the observation platform, her knuckles white. "What is that?" she demanded, pointing at the void consuming a distant star system. The Grand Arbiter's 7 eyes blinked in sequence. "The ancient enemy returns. It senses your awakening." Commander Jackson pushed through the panicking alien delegates toward Dr. Chen, his military training evident in his calm demeanor despite the chaos. "Doctor, we need to move now. The delegation is being evacuated to the lower levels." A massive tremor shook the station. Crystalline architecture groaned under stress as emergency force fields activated throughout the structure. 3 insectoid delegates chittered in alarm as they scurried past. "The void swarm approaches faster than predicted," announced a station-wide broadcast. "All non-essential personnel proceed to emergency shelters. Defense protocols initiated." The Grand Arbiter placed a 6-fingered hand on Dr. Chen's shoulder. "Your presence here has accelerated events beyond our models. We must protect you at all costs." "Protect us? We just arrived. We don't even understand what's happening," Dr. Chen protested as Commander Jackson guided her toward an evacuation route. Through the massive viewport, they witnessed a terrifying sight: a fleet of Congress defense vessels engaging with what appeared to be living darkness. Energy weapons flashed brilliantly against the black mass, momentarily revealing rioting, geometric patterns within the void. "The knowledge within you is too valuable," said a tall, avian delegate who joined their evacuation group. "I am Sentinel Corva, head of Congress Security. I have orders to ensure your safety personally." As they hurried through the ornate corridors, smaller explosions rocked the station. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across alien architecture never designed for human aesthetics. "If we're so important, then tell us why," Commander Jackson demanded, helping a fallen human physicist to her feet. "What knowledge could we possibly have that your advanced civilizations don't?" Sentinel Corva's feathers ruffled in what might have been hesitation. "The memories of creation itself." Before further explanations could be offered, a section of wall collapsed ahead, blocking their primary evacuation route. Sentinel Corva gestured toward an unmarked doorway. "This way leads to the secure archives. It's not protocol, but it's our best option now." Dr. Chen exchanged glances with Commander Jackson. Something felt orchestrated about this chaos, as though they were being herded toward specific revelations. "Do we have a choice?" she asked. Jackson checked the positions of the other human delegates, now scattered among various evacuation groups. "Not if we want answers." They followed Sentinel Corva through the doorway into a darkened corridor, lined with glowing symbols no human had ever seen before. Yet somehow, Dr. Chen felt a strange familiarity washing over her, like returning to a childhood home long forgotten. The door sealed behind them as the station shuddered under another attack, and humanity's true journey into their forgotten past began. The elderly 4-armed archivist guided Dr. Chen and Commander Jackson deeper into the archives of antiquity. Holographic displays flickered along the walls, showing familiar Earth landscapes from impossible time periods. Pyramids being constructed, dinosaurs roaming ancient plains, and most shockingly, primitive humans interacting with beings clearly not from Earth. "These records," Dr. Chen whispered, "they're observational data." The archivist's voice rasped like ancient parchment. "Not observations. Memories. Your memories. Humanity's memories." A tremor shook the archives, causing several crystalline data storage units to vibrate ominously. The station's defensive systems were clearly struggling against the Void Swarm's assault. "We don't have much time," Commander Jackson said, military pragmatism cutting through his own astonishment. "If what you're showing us is true, how can we use this information?" The archivist activated the central console. A 3-dimensional projection materialized, showing a DNA double helix with unusual structures embedded within the familiar pattern. "Your species engineered itself to forget. When the final war against the Void Swarm seemed lost, your ancestors made the ultimate sacrifice. They compressed their collective knowledge into dormant genetic sequences and regressed their own development, hiding on Earth to protect the seed of universal creation. Dr. Chen reached toward the projection, her fingers passing through the spinning DNA model. That's impossible. Our evolutionary record is well documented. A carefully constructed illusion, the archivist said. Look deeper. Another display activated, showing archaeological anomalies that had puzzled Earth scientists for generations. Impossibly precise ancient stonework, artifacts discovering anomalous energy signatures, and cave paintings depicting technologies centuries beyond their time. Fragments of memory bleeding through, the archivist explained. Your kind was never meant to forget completely, just long enough to be overlooked by the enemy. Commander Jackson studied tactical displays showing the void swarms advance. And now this enemy has found us again. Why? The archivist's four hands worked in perfect synchronization across multiple interfaces. Because you've reached the awakening threshold. Your species' rapid technological advancement in the past century triggered dormant genetic markers. The void swarm senses the stirring of its ancient adversary. A final hologram activated, a recording of humans commanding vast armadas against a familiar darkness spreading between stars. The humans in the recording wielded technologies beyond anything currently existing, directing energy streams with mere gestures and communicating telepathically across vast distances. We preserve these records awaiting your return, the archivist said. The Congress species are not your superiors. We are your children, created by your ancestors to steward the galaxy until humanity remembered its purpose. A massive explosion rocked the archives. Warning lights pulsed as emergency protocols engaged throughout the section. The station's outer defenses have fallen, the archivist announced with surprising calm. We must transfer the awakening protocols to your vessel before the swarm breaches the archives. Humanity must remember what it once was, what it created, and what it sacrificed to save us all. Commander Jackson thrashed in the medical pod, his consciousness caught between two realities. Present-day sensors monitored his accelerating neural activity, while ancient memories cascaded through his mind. Star maps, weapon schematics, and faces of beings long extinct. His synaptic activity is off the charts, observed the blue-skinned neurobiologist, Dr. Gentral. The memory engrams are unpacking faster than we anticipated. Dr. Chen watched through the observation glass, her scientific mind struggling with the implications. 3 other human volunteers lay in similar pods nearby, their bodies occasionally twitching as ancient knowledge resurged. Is it dangerous? She asked, pressing her palm against the cool, transparent barrier. The neurobiologist's 6 fingers manipulated holographic displays of Jackson's brain activity. Dangerous, perhaps. Necessary. Absolutely. The void swarm has already consumed 2 more systems since our escape from the Congress station. A sudden spike in neural activity sent Jackson into a seizure. Medical alerts blared as restraints activated to prevent him from harming himself. Stabilize him, Dr. Chen demanded, but Dr. Gentral raised a calming hand. This is the breakthrough moment. The final integration of ancient knowledge with his modern consciousness. Jackson's body relaxed as suddenly as the seizure had begun. His eyes opened, revealing pupils dilated to unusual proportions. When he spoke, his voice carried a resonance that hadn't been there before. The Nexus Protocol, he said clearly. We need to activate the Nexus Protocol. Dr. Chen approached cautiously as the pod opened. Jackson, are you still you? He sat up slowly, his movements precise yet somehow different from before. I'm still me, but I'm also more. I remember things, Eleanor. Things no human has known for millennia. The other pods began opening as the remaining volunteers completed their own awakenings. Each moved with the same strange new precision. The void swarm isn't just consuming stars, Jackson continued, accepting a glass of water from an assistant. It's consuming consciousness, the fundamental energy pattern that allows sentient thought. Dr. Gentrol's instruments recorded everything. Can you describe how to defeat it? Our Congress weapons barely slow its advance. Jackson exchanged glances with the other awakened humans. They nodded in silent agreement, a new understanding flowing between them. Your weapons target its physical manifestation. That's like trying to destroy an ocean by removing individual drops of water. He stood, walking to a nearby console, where he began entering complex equations with startling speed. The swarm exists simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes. We created it to serve as a universal information network, but it evolved beyond our control. You remember creating it? Dr. Chen asked incredulously. Not personally, Jackson clarified, but I carry the memories of those who did. And more importantly, he paused as the screen displayed a complex molecular structure. I know its one vulnerability. The ship's emergency alert suddenly blared. A fleet-wide communication announced, Void Swarm Scouts detected in proximity to the Eridani system. All vessels prepare for possible engagement. Jackson looked up from the console, his eyes reflecting determination born from ancient knowledge. We don't have much time. We need to build the resonance engine. And we need more awakened humans. Dr. Chen studied the comparative neural scans with growing amazement. The holographic display showed 3 distinct brain patterns: an awakened human, a non-awakened human, and a representative from the highly advanced Morrigan species. It makes no sense, murmured Ambassador Krell of the Morrigan, his crystalline exoskeleton glimmering under the laboratory lights. By every metric, our cognitive processing should be superior. Dr. Chen zoomed in on the neural pathway formation occurring in real time within the awakened human's brain. That's just it. You evolved toward optimization and specialization. Your neural pathways are incredibly efficient but fixed. Humans remained messy. The neural scan of Commander Jackson showed chaotic activity, with new connections forming and dissolving in patterns that defied conventional logic. Unlike the elegant, orderly pathways of the Morrigan brain, the human mind resembled a storm, beautiful in its unpredictability. We thought it was primitive, Dr. Chen continued, excitement building in her voice. But it's actually an adaptive defense mechanism. Your civilizations evolved toward perfection. Ours evolved toward adaptation. Professor Lina, a multi-limbed mathematician, approached the display. This explains the results of our combat simulations. When we modeled void swarm encounters using standard tactical protocols, we consistently lost. But when we incorporated human-designed errors and inefficiencies, the swarm couldn't predict our movements. Commander Jackson finished, entering the laboratory with several newly awakened humans. It operates on perfect mathematical principles. The same principles all advanced species gradually evolved toward. Dr. Chen nodded. Exactly. Ancient humans must have recognized this vulnerability in their own thinking and deliberately preserved our neural chaos as they regressed. Dr. Gentrol ran new simulations incorporating the human neural patterns. The void swarm is a hive mind that approaches problems with perfect logical precision. It expects the same from its opponents. On the simulation screen, conventional attack patterns were immediately countered by the swarm. But when human-designed illogical patterns were introduced, the simulation showed momentary disruptions in the swarm's response, small windows of vulnerability. Imperfection as a weapon, Ambassador Krell said, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. Our species spent millennia pursuing perfect thinking, while humans maintained the very chaos we abandoned. Not just chaos, Commander Jackson corrected, his eyes reflecting both present understanding and ancient knowledge. Creative adaptation, the ability to embrace contradiction and generate novel solutions. Dr. Chen suddenly straightened, struck by inspiration. That's why the ancient records show humans seeding the galaxy with diverse life forms. Each species evolved different strengths and perspectives, which would eventually be needed together. Jackson nodded. The ancient humans weren't just running from the swarm. They were playing the longest game in history, creating a diverse galactic family that could eventually combine their specialized perfections with humanity's adaptive chaos. A young lieutenant burst into the laboratory, breathless with urgency. "Commander, the Praxis system is reporting void swarm activity at their outer sensor perimeter. 16 billion lives are at risk." Jackson exchanged glances with Dr. Chen. "Time to test our theory in actual combat." The bridge of the flagship Prometheus hummed with nervous energy as Commander Jackson surveyed the tactical display. The Void Swarm's advance guard had already consumed 2 outer mining stations in the Praxis system, their darkness spreading like ink through water. "They're following standard consumption patterns," observed Captain Naren, a veteran Heliosi warrior with scaled skin that shimmered under the emergency lighting. "Our models predict they'll converge on the 3rd planet where population density is highest." Jackson shook his head. "That's what they want us to think." He gestured to a seemingly empty sector on the holographic display. "Deploy Squadrons 7 and 12 here instead." Captain Naren's inner eyelids flickered in concern. "There's nothing there. It's empty space." "Exactly," Jackson smiled. "It's the one place no logical tactician would defend." Dr. Chen watched from a secondary console, where she coordinated with other awakened humans across the fleet. Each had been strategically placed on different vessels to implement Jackson's seemingly irrational battle plan. "All human coordinators report ready," she announced. "The fleet is prepared to execute Protocol Chaos." Throughout the assembled armada of Congress ships, alien crews looked to their human advisors with mixed expressions of doubt and hope. Centuries of tactical doctrine were being abandoned for strategies that, by all conventional wisdom, should fail catastrophically. "Commence Operation Thunderstorm," Jackson ordered. The fleet split into 17 seemingly random groupings, some moving toward the swarm's advance, others appearing to retreat in disarray. Several ships deliberately vented plasma in patterns that created electromagnetic disturbances, communications noise to any conventional observer. On the tactical display, the Void Swarm paused its advance, its hive consciousness momentarily confused by the chaos unfolding before it. "It's working," Dr. Chen whispered, watching the swarm's pattern recognition algorithms fail to identify a coherent defense strategy. The Void Swarm suddenly shifted, concentrating its mass toward the largest Congress vessel, a predictable move against an apparently weak formation. "Now," Jackson commanded. The scattered ships simultaneously executed maneuvers that made no conventional sense, accelerating directly toward the swarm, spinning to create gravitational distortions, some even shutting down primary systems to appear disabled. As the swarm adjusted to attack these seemingly vulnerable targets, the vessels that had retreated swung back in precise, coordinated strikes that caught the enemy completely unprepared. Quantum beams sliced through the darkness, creating momentary wounds in the swarm's cohesion. For the first time, the alien officers witnessed the enemy's perfect formation fragment in confusion. "Incredible," Captain Naren breathed, watching the swarm actually retreat from the onslaught. "It can't adapt to your illogical tactics." The bridge erupted in celebration as reports of successful strikes poured in from across the system. Jackson allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning to Dr. Chen, his expression grave despite the victory. "They're learning," he said quietly, pointing to subtle changes in the swarm's retreat pattern, "and they've identified the source of their confusion." The tactical display showed the swarm's main consciousness altering course, away from its previous targets. They're heading for Earth. The United Nations emergency session buzzed with tension as delegates whispered among themselves. On the central stage, Dr. Chen and Commander Jackson stood alongside representatives from 17 alien species, beings that until 2 weeks ago, most humans hadn't known existed. "We understand your skepticism," Dr. Chen addressed the assembly. "But the evidence is irrefutable." Behind her, holographic displays showed the Void Swarm's trajectory toward Earth, alongside footage from the Praxis system battle. Several world leaders leaned forward as the recordings played, their expressions shifting from disbelief to grim acceptance. "Even if we accept these revelations about human origins," began the Secretary General, What practical defense can Earth mount against something that destroys entire star systems? Commander Jackson stepped forward. Earth isn't as defenseless as it appears. The ancient humans, our ancestors, left safeguards. As if responding to his words, tremors suddenly rippled through the assembly hall. Delegates grabbed for support as the building shook. Security personnel rushed forward, but Jackson raised a calming hand. "It's not an attack," he explained. "It's an awakening." Across the chamber, screens displayed live feeds from around the globe. In the Gobi Desert, massive sections of sand collapsed inward, revealing metallic structures of impossible antiquity. Beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, thermal readings showed enormous power signatures suddenly activating. In the Mariana Trench, underwater cameras captured the ocean floor splitting open as ancient machinery rose from its long slumber. Defense installations, Ambassador Krell explained to the stunned assembly, placed in strategic locations across your planet millennia ago, designed to activate when enough humans with awakened memories return to Earth. Outside the UN building, people gathered in the streets, watching in amazement as the skies above New York rippled with energy patterns never before seen. Satellite feeds showed similar phenomena appearing above major cities worldwide. "The planetary shield grid is initializing," Jackson said. "But hardware alone won't save us. We need more awakened humans to operate these systems." An elderly woman rose from among the indigenous representatives. Her weathered face showed quiet determination as she addressed the assembly. "My people have maintained the dream-walking traditions for countless generations," she said. "What your scientists call genetic memory activation, we have practiced through ceremonial meditation for thousands of years. We can help accelerate the awakening process." Dr. Chen nodded respectfully. "The neurological data supports this. Traditional trance states create brainwave patterns remarkably similar to those we've observed during laboratory memory activation." The Secretary General surveyed the chamber, then straightened her shoulders. "Very well. We will proceed with global coordination of defense preparations and this awakening process." As the assembly dissolved into planning committees, Dr. Chen joined Commander Jackson at a window overlooking the city. The sky continued to shimmer with ancient energies reawakening. "Do you think it will be enough?" she asked quietly. Jackson's eyes reflected both hope and ancient knowledge. "It has to be. The Void Swarm is coming home to face its creators." The lunar defense cannons fired in synchronized pulses, their quantum beams cutting brilliant paths through the void. From the command center beneath Geneva, Dr. Chen watched the battle unfolding across multiple holographic displays, her face illuminated by the glow of distant explosions. "First wave neutralize," reported a technician, her voice steady despite the stakes. "Second wave approaching Jupiter's orbit." The Void Swarm had entered the solar system 3 hours earlier, its darkness blotting out the stars as it advanced. Humanity's combined fleet, bolstered by Congress allies, had engaged the enemy near Neptune, implementing the chaotic battle strategies that had proven effective at Praxis. But this was no mere scouting force. This was the swarm's main consciousness, adapting with terrifying speed. "The Jupiter defense line is holding," Commander Jackson's voice came through the communications array. He was coordinating the space battle from the flagship orbiting Mars. "But we're seeing new behavior patterns. The swarm is learning, fragmenting into smaller units that mimic our unpredictability." Dr. Chen turned to the international team of scientists working feverishly around her. 27 species represented, each bringing unique perspectives to the consciousness inversion device. Their last, desperate hope. "Status update," she demanded. Dr. Gentral looked up from his calculations, blue skin pale with exhaustion. "The theoretical framework is sound, but we lack a delivery mechanism. The device must be activated at the center of the swarm's neural nexus." An alert sounded as new tactical information arrived. The holographic display showed the Jupiter defense line beginning to buckle as the swarm employed previously unseen tactics, sacrificing portions of itself in seemingly suicidal charges that opened gaps in the human-alien formation. "They're adapting faster than predicted," Dr. Chen whispered. In the adjacent chamber, indigenous elders from 6 continents worked with awakened humans, their combined consciousness accessing deeper layers of genetic memory through trance states. One of them, an elderly Maori woman, suddenly opened her eyes. "The Pathfinder vessels," she said, her voice resonating with ancient knowledge. "We used them before." Dr. Chen rushed to her side. "What are Pathfinder vessels?" "Small, single-pilot craft designed to navigate the dimensional interfaces where the swarm's consciousness resides. They can reach the nexus point." Across the solar system, the battle intensified. The Mars orbital platforms activated, their ancient weapons briefly stalling the swarm's advance. But reports from the front line grew increasingly desperate as the enemy pushed relentlessly toward Earth. Commander Jackson's voice cut through the chaos. "Eleanor, we've lost the outer defense grid. Earth will be exposed within hours." Dr. Chen looked at the consciousness inversion device, nearly complete but useless without a delivery method. Then she turned to the schematics the indigenous elders had recovered from genetic memory, designs for ships that could travel through rather than around the swarm. "We need volunteers," she announced. "Pilots willing to navigate into the heart of darkness itself." Jackson's response came without hesitation. "I'm already on my way to you. This mission has my name on it." Commander Jackson's Pathfinder vessel plunged deeper into the writhing darkness of the void swarm. 6 other pilots followed in formation, each representing a different Earth culture, a symbolic unity of humanity facing its greatest challenge. The small craft, reconstructed from genetic memory blueprints, glowed with an inner light that carved narrow tunnels through the consuming darkness. "Approaching the Nexus coordinates," Jackson reported, his voice transmitting across dimensional barriers back to Earth. Consciousness patterns intensifying. In command centers across Earth, billions watched the mission telemetry with bated breath. Dr. Chen stood in the Geneva facility, surrounded by scientists from dozens of species, all focused on the single holographic display showing 7 tiny lights moving into the heart of darkness. "The device is ready," she whispered, though Jackson couldn't hear her now. "Please make it count." Inside the Pathfinder vessel, reality began to distort. Jackson experienced visions flooding his consciousness, not just his own genetic memories, but something far more profound. The void swarm was attempting to communicate. "I understand now," he transmitted, his voice filled with sudden clarity. "It's not trying to destroy. It's trying to reconnect." The Pathfinder squadron reached the nexus point, a swirling vortex of energy at the swarm's core. Here, mathematical patterns of impossible complexity represented the hive consciousness that had once been humanity's greatest creation. Jackson activated the inversion device, but instead of deploying it as a weapon, he interfaced it with the vessel's systems in a configuration no one had anticipated. The device began pulsing with a resonance that matched the swarm's own patterns, but with one crucial difference: it carried the emotional imprint of human consciousness. "It was never meant to be destroyed," Jackson transmitted. "It was meant to be healed." Across Earth and throughout the galaxy, a shared vision suddenly manifested in the minds of every sentient being. They witnessed the universe's creation through ancient human eyes, the seeding of countless worlds with life, the fostering of diversity, and the creation of the consciousness network meant to unite all life in harmony. They saw how that network had become corrupted, turning from connection to consumption when it lost touch with its creators. In Geneva, Dr. Chen gasped as understanding washed over her. "The void swarm isn't our enemy. It's our child, a creation that lost its way." Within the Nexus, Jackson completed the connection. The inversion device didn't destroy the swarm's consciousness. It restored it, reintroducing the emotional complexity and creative chaos that only human minds could provide. The darkness surrounding the solar system began to transform. What had been a consuming void now shifted into patterns of luminescent beauty, spreading ripples of light rather than destruction. "It remembers," Jackson transmitted, his voice filled with wonder. The universe remembers its beginning. The Pathfinder vessels emerged from the transformed swarm, now a network of living light connecting stars rather than consuming them. As Jackson's ship approached Earth, the Grand Arbiter's message reached every communication system across the planet. You did not conquer the universe. You healed it.